the latest previews, reviews, and analyses and reactions to the biggest sporting events around the globe, subscribe to our YouTube channel to join the Premium FM Sports Center on Premium 89.9 FM, your preferred station. Welcome to today's edition of Sports Center on your preferred station, Premium 89.9 FM. Hello from me, Raymond Ita. This is where we get to review and preview some of the biggest sporting stories that the world is talking about. I'm being joined, as usual, on the show by Akwa United Fc. Welcome. Thanks for being on the show today.
Raymond, thank you very much. Nice to be here.
And Inamino also joins us as well. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, on the show today, we'll review matches played across Europe's major leagues over the weekend. It's not every day Real Madrid, PSG, Bayern Munich and Barcelona gets to lose on the same weekend. We'll look at the result of those games. The Super Eagles of Nigeria are in action against the Central African Republic in two double-header qualifiers for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. We'll talk about that as well. Plus, the latest scuffle in the camp of MPFL champions Akwa United. Captain Otobong Effiong and starman Fonudo have both been axed by the club. We'll look at all these issues in the course of the show. Let's start off with results of matches played across Europe's major leagues over the weekend, and we'll begin in the Premier League, where the lunchtime game from Old Trafford Stadium saw Manchester United being held by Everton 1-1. It finished, and at the end of the day, for 3 games or more running now, every United result comes with a question of whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer really knows how to manage the talent at his disposal. A dismal result, you would say, for Manchester United.
Yes, obviously a dismal result, because I remember the last time we actually spoke about the match. I reviewed the matches ahead of the weekend. I was thinking in the back of my mind that, first of all, they lost to Aston Villa, and the Carabao Cup also lost in that same at home. And yes, we know that there's a resurging Everton. We know they are doing well under Rafa Benitez, who has crossed to the other side of the city. And so, but I expected that there's going to be a reawakening from the players about the Everton match, and that's why I was very, very confident that at least at the very slim margin they're going to win against Everton. But then we also found out that the coach did not start the best players, because for goodness sake, why did they start your star player who did not have an injury, he was not tired, and he could have started the game for you, which is also, we know that is a game changer. Talking about Cristiano Ronaldo, he didn't start him, and so for me, it wasn't a result that was expected from Manchester United. And so the players that we started, first of all, fine. Ole, for me, I've always said it, Ole is not an average coach, because when you have such dressing rooms, the key question that comes into play is that, does he have the personality to manage the dressing room? Because you are talking about Pogba, you are talking about Bruno Fernandes, you are talking about the Cristiano Ronaldo that has been added to the team, you are talking about Eddie Gueye that has been there for long. I know a Maguire that has grown into being a key player in that team and in the dressing room. And so all of that is a question for Ole. Is he able, or does he have the capacity to be able to manage that team? As for me, right from time, I said it, it does not. The good thing that goes for him is that at the point where everybody is thinking that he should be shown the way out, probably for one reason or the other, the player will just stand up and maybe obtain 1 or 2 results consecutively, and everybody say, okay, Ole is good to go. But then you find out that over the years, so far he has been in Manchester United, he has not shown any signs of there's no that signs of the fact that he knows exactly what he's doing, and at some point they have not actually gotten any trophy. And so I think that they need to sit back. He needs to also sit back and look at his tactics, his players' selections for teams and like that. And once that is happening, but it was a very dismal performance from Manchester United over the weekend.
Disappointing result for Manchester United. Ikobong has touched on the average quality of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a manager, and criticizing the fact that he didn't start with some of his best hands or best legs before the game. But in fairness to the players who got the nod to start, like Anthony Martial, who ended up on the score sheet, meaning United were leading before we even saw the introduction of Cristiano Ronaldo. So some persons have said, is it also down to the players, maybe letting the manager down and not necessarily the manager's tactics?
Well, Raymond, you cannot count two before counting one. You start from one to count. It's down to the coach because you cannot start, like Iko Obong said, your best players on the bench. I don't know who told the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that keeping your best players on the bench is a tactic in football today. It's not a tactic. Like you said, Cristiano Ronaldo is not injured. Paul Pogba is not having issues, and the rest of the guys. Now, you are starting two out-and-out strikers, and you are not giving them wingers to work with. You are not giving them enough ammunition from the midfield to supply them. How do you expect them to score? Now you push Anthony Martial, who is a striker by bed, to the other flank of the pitch or of the field, when his mentality will be like, I should be at the center of the pitch. Now that wing suffers now, and the opposition attacks you from there. And now the team is not balanced to start with, because if you are starting two strikers, it means that you have only one room for an attacking midfielder, that is Bruno Fernandes. There will be no place for Paul Pogba, who is also playing an attacking midfield for him. And then the two up front strikers, they would lack supplies, because we've seen, from what we've seen so far from last season and this season, Fred is not just in him. And McTominay, if he steps forward, Fred will suffer behind, and opposition know they will exploit. So why don't you balance the team? Let Cristiano Ronaldo come in with that X factor. Defenders, central defenders and defensive midfielders, having the man back that Cristiano Ronaldo is behind them. They will not attack you because they want to push back to make sure they defend very well against Cristiano Ronaldo and Greenwood, who can actually create something out of nothing. But then you don't bring in this X factor, bringing in two out of sort strikers who doesn't create any fear again in the mind of defenders. And then at the end of the day, nothing comes up, because at the end of the day, Anthony Martial is not too good with the head, but he can score goals. But Edinson Cavani is an all-round striker. He will not and score. But you don't give him wingers that can cross the ball for him to not. Maybe if he not, or if he flips the ball back, Anthony Martial can pick on the second balls, on rebound, on maybe deflections and like that, and then score. So, but you set up your team to attack, not minding what happens in the middle of the park, and then the defense, at the end of the day, you lose, or maybe you draw, and then you say the players are not good enough, and then you bring in players who should have started the game in the middle of the game, and they cannot do anything at the end of the day, because you have already built confidence in the defense of the opposition team, because they were able to mark out the first wave of attack that came. So in their mind, they're like, we mark these ones out. Why can't we mark these ones out? So you brought them late and it didn't work for you. I think it's down to what Ikobon said. The coach should be questioned very, very well.
All right, so here's questions about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Meanwhile, his assistant at Manchester United, Mike Phelan, has extended his contract to stay at the club until 2024. Let's move on to other games we saw on Saturday. There was a thrilling contest at Stamford Bridge where Chelsea beat Southampton by 3-1. It was a fixture that saw Timo Werner had a goal ruled out after VAR check, and that was the 16th goal that Timo Werner has scored in a space of 1 year that has been disallowed. Not the kind of statistics you would want if you're a striker. You need all the form and the confidence. But on the whole, it was a disciplined performance by Chelsea, even after being pegged back by Southampton. Then the red card to James Ward-Prowse definitely changed things with about 15 minutes to go. But all the same, Thomas Tuchel got his act right with the way he set the team, looking far different from what we saw at the last two outings.
Yeah, definitely. I think the players, the coach, they knew that it was time for them to wake up to their responsibilities. And then when you look at the last two outings against Juventus and Manchester City, we didn't have a bite in the attack. That's in Chelsea did not have a bite in the attack. Why I said that is because in recent times, in recent games, Kai Havertz that has dropped in his performance. And we also see Mason Mount was injured in those two games. He couldn't even play. And so you saw that there was no supply line. Everybody now knows how we play, how Chelsea actually plays, because they see Lukaku as a point man, and so every ball goes to it, and so it becomes very obvious that everybody wants to pass to Lukaku. And so, but he started a system that was very good, where you have Timo Werner and Lukaku up front. I mean, Lukaku can be a distraction to the defensive line of Southampton, although they also were weary of Timo Werner because of his runs. For me, Timo Werner is not a complete striker, and I see
a Firmino kind of
kind of player, kind of striker that he is in Liverpool. So it was not very good for him. But I also wish that FIFA and those who are also making the rules for the games to also look at what happened, because I was very furious. I was not happy for the fact that yes, a foul was committed, although it was, for me, it was a very soft one by Aspilicueta, but 30 seconds, 6 touches, and it got into a goal, and you disallowed it. If it was just two touches, it was just straight ahead from that foul down to the goal, it would have been proper. But when the rule says that it can be disallowed because a foul was committed leading to the goal, but let's also look at the time frame. 30 seconds went by, 6 touches went by, and then at the end of the day they scored. But unfortunately, that is what the rule says. Okay, we have to live by the rules. There's nothing we can do about it until we're able to see if the rules can change in the near future. It was also a good booster for him that I actually and eventually also got the goal at the end of the day. So we're expecting that system should work well for Chelsea, because if Chelsea is able to be efficient enough in that 3-5-2 formation, of course, there are a lot of things that came from Tuchel that I actually admired. Bringing in a Barkley. Barkley knows how to give you a pinpoint pass. That's one good thing about him. That I know that he does. He knows how to do very well, and so he was able to do that, and that is why we got Chelsea got that second goal, and eventually after the second goal, it was a Costa Rosta for them. Yes, the red card actually changed. It could have been a different result without the red card, but it was a proper red card. It was a deserved red card.
All right, 3-1 it finished in favour of Chelsea. Trevor Chalobah with another red start for Chelsea got them off before James Ward-Prowse equalised on the penalty spot to make it 1-1. And, of course, goals from Timo Werner and Ben Chilwell ensured a comfortable 3-1 win for Chelsea. In other results, on Saturday, Leeds United beat Watford by a 0-0. Watford have had manager Xisco Muñoz sacked, so he becomes the first managerial casualty of this season. Elsewhere, Wolverhampton Wanderers won the second game on the trot. They beat Newcastle United by 2-1, while the late kickoff on Saturday came from the American Amex Stadium, where Brighton and Hove Albion and Arsenal played out a goalless draw. On Sunday, Leicester City played out a 2-2 draw at Selhurst Park with Crystal Palace. The home side came from 2 goals down to snatch a point in that game. Tottenham Hotspur beat Aston Villa 2-1. While the biggest fixture over the weekend came from Anfield, I'll get your thoughts on this quickly. It finished 2-2 between Liverpool and Manchester City. It's pretty clear, before the season started, I don't think many persons considered Liverpool as genuine title contenders in the same way you would have seen Manchester City the champions or Chelsea, who many have seen as the main challenger. But Liverpool have shown with that result and with how they've played so far this season that they are indeed serious contenders for the title too.
They might not be serious contenders, Raymond, but you have to see it from my own angle. No big team will probably beat Liverpool this season, but smaller teams will. Now, my problem with Liverpool is they sell without buying. And sometimes they sell the wrong players, forgetting that going into a new season, you have a whole lot of competitions to play in. They sold Wijnaldum, and they didn't replace him. And he was the most important cog in that team. For the past few years, he has been there. So that was not enough. They sold Shaqiri without replacement as well. Now, the match against Manchester City was always going to be draw. But had it been they had a proper replacement for trainer Alexander-Arnold, who was not ably represented by the aging Milner, and then they replaced Wijnaldum in the middle of the park very well, I think they would have had the advantage over Manchester City. Because Manchester City, knowing that the deplorable state of their midfield, they know they have static midfielders who have strength without technique, midfielders who have strength without vision, midfielders who have the energy to run round the pitch without any creativity, without an eye for goal. I'm talking about Henderson and Fabinho. The only person that was in the middle of the park to have done anything creative is Jones. And you cannot just throw a young man in the middle of the park against Manchester City, against a midfield of Pedri, Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, and Silva. It's not possible. It's not going to work. But thanks to the stars of football, at least they came out. Now in the first half, Liverpool are set up in a way that their two full backs play like wing backs, like what Thomas Tuchel is doing. They attack you without allowing you access their two central defenders. And they pick you back and they attack you, they inundate your defense, and then they win you. And now Arnold was ill and he was out. And now Pep Guardiola knew the only person that would be used is either Tommy. Tommy is a 19-year-old boy. You cannot use him against Man City. So now they use Miona, and they exploited that flank. If for the 11 goals on target on shot on goal for that first half came from that flank. The goal also came from there. And the middle of the park, there was nothing creative from the middle of the park, because throughout the first half they had no shot on target.
Good enough. Well, all of this he has said, and rightly so, came in the first 45 minutes. It looked like City were all over Liverpool were all over the place with wave after wave of City attacks. But how they responded in the second 45 minutes with the same players you've highlighted, whose qualities you feel are not enough to win the league title. It's also down to Jurgen Klopp's tactical masterclass and being able to use the players at his disposal to, almost win that game against City.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree totally with what he's saying, because you sold a couple of players who were good and you did not replace them.
Who won you the title?
And then who won you the title, and even the Champions League as well.
Yeah.
And so I think that whatever is the transfer policy, we do not know, but we know that we have seen although Jurgen Klopp will not say it out, but we have seen him getting frustrated based on comment he has made against the likes of Man City and Chelsea, also
buying players.
He shows that he's actually frustrated, but because the transfer policy at the moment at Liverpool does not favor him. So as a coach, you manage what you have. But like you said, I think Liverpool needs to. Season before last, they were in a similar situation. As at December in the 2019 season, they were at the top of the league. They had 15 points ahead of Man City. Man City struggled. We can remember at the early stage of that league, that season, they struggled. And then they were 15 points ahead of. By December, where competition, like I said, all of the competition came in. Don't forget, from December, as far as English Premier League is concerned, games are played every 3 days.
Yeah.
The FA Cup will come in later. If they were also in Carabao Cup, they were there in the Champions League. And so the Champions League started in February, and you now saw how the team was tiring out. The players were tiring out, and at the end of the day, affected Liverpool. So, in my mind of thinking, I was thinking that in the next 2 seasons, that Liverpool should be able to reinforce that team, and also help the likes of Salah, Mane, and Firmino, who has been consistent over the years. The 3 of them has been consistent over the years. The statistics have actually shown that the goals between the 3 of them and the assists between 2 of them has been very, very, very commendable. So I think that Liverpool board needs to do a lot. So, but it's desired to be seen. By the time we get to December, where we have so much games, like Inem has said, we will now understand who is able to withstand the pressure of it all. But then, going back to Sunday game, it was a game of tactics from both teams. It was a game of determination for both teams. Because I remember when Liverpool actually scored first, I thought in my mind it's all over. But within a second, like I said, they were using that wing. The right wing was Pep Guardiola actually knows. And so he now sent Foden to that wing in the second half. Because Foden is very young, can run and can dribble. On one-on-one, direct one-on-one, he knows he can do it. And he did it and he scored. Then Liverpool, by virtue of the fact that Manchester United, City, actually made a mistake, because Cancelo made a very big blunder. Because the first time, I think he dribbled past Salah dribbled past him. I expected him that you do a professional foul on him. But then let Salah did what he did and he scored the second goal. Sincerely, I thought it was all over. But again, from the same wing that he has pointed out, they had to get the equalizing goal from that win, because the ball came from there into the midfield where De Bruyne actually scored that goal from. So I think that Liverpool has a lot to do. For me, a lot of people said nobody actually looked them as title contenders, but I think that ideally, the way I like to look the English Premier League, from November, December would actually shape up who and who will withstand all of the pressures.
All right, good games indeed we saw over the weekend in the Premier League as well as the rest of Europe in the Spanish La Liga. Just like it happened in Champions League duties, where Real Madrid and Barcelona both lost, both sides were beaten again in La Liga this weekend. Barcelona suffered a 2-0 defeat at the Wanda Metropolitano, where they lost to Atletico Madrid. Real Madrid, on the other hand, were beaten away from home in La Liga as well. So 2 defeats in a row for both sides. In Germany, it was a massive upset. Bayern Munich, the champions and leaders, were humbled at home by 6th place Eintracht Frankfurt. 2-1 it finished, and that's the first time they have lost a home game in a space of 1 year in the Bundesliga. In France, a star-studded Paris Saint-Germain side were beaten 2-0 by Stade Rennes. It was a game Lionel Messi, Neymar Jr., Kylian Mbappe and Angel Di Maria all started at the same time, and they failed to register an attempt on target in the course of 90 minutes. Disappointing result. But from European football, we cross over to the local scene, and let's talk Akwa United now. A news broke out that club captain Otobong Effiong and starman Fonudo have both been sacked by the club. And this is not unconnected to grievances we were told were aired when the team traveled to Algeria to take on CR Belouizdad in the second leg of their CAF Champions League fixtures. We all know Akwa United lost that game 2-0. Before kickoff, there was a talk about the mutiny in the dressing room and the players threatening to boycott that fixture if they weren't paid money that was owed to them by way of bonuses. And despite overtures made by the sports ministry in the States, the management of the club, the players refused. Eventually they were paid. They went on to play the match. They lost. They're back into the country. Of course, you would expect an inquiry to be launched into what really happened. And the club has come out with a decision to axe these key players, which includes a suspension for Gotspower and Effiong, who only just returned to the side. So there's been diverse reactions to this Ikobong as to whether Akwa United made the right decision or not. On the other end, about the players' professional character called into question.
Well, I think for me, excuse me, I think for me, we all understand how the Nigerian soccer environment actually works administratively. Like I said the last time on this program, most cases we don't have players sign a professional contract with clubs. The most cases are just probably word of mouth, and in most cases a few things are just scribbled on black and white, and the player actually signs, and things don't really work the way they're supposed to work, like we see in the rest of the world as far as football is concerned. I think first of all, yes, I will blame the players. You know, if there was any such thing in Algeria, what should be in the uppermost of the player is the club. You know, let's deliver the job. When we get back home, we'll continue our demands. We not only understand the environment. You know, it's not at the point where we had a key match to execute that we should demand and also stay back. That is not found in any form of sportsmanship. I know it happens before it takes place in other climes. It takes a lot of negotiation, a lot of talking, a lot of applying and all of that. And in peculiar nature as Nigeria, in my own personal opinion, I think those players would have allowed the match to be executed plainly and professionally first. And then when you come back home, we'll continue our demand. Okay, now we have gotten past this stage in the CAF Champions League. What happens to our allowances? You promise us so much allowances. What happens to the lesser done? Because at the end of the day, you will still go back to the government, and the government will still tell you that there's no money. And because there's no money and there's no sponsorship, there's nothing. The clubs are just run like a normal kitchen, you know. So I think the players were wrong, and I think that for me, although I'm not privileged to the full decisions of the club, but from what we hear and what we understand, that two players have already been told to leave, and the other one suspended, or whatever it is the case, I think that the appropriate measures and as enshrined in LMC framework as well as the club framework should be applied.
Quick one, do you think it's going to affect the morale in the team? We know as much as these players who have been fingered spearheaded these protests, the entire team had to support it before it was, of course, effected. Because we can't say only 3 players were able to force the club's hands to pay them. It means the entire team accepted it. So now that these 3 players have suffered from the effect of that decision, how do you think it will rub off on the rest of the team? You think they're going to want to side with their teammates in this case, or just fall in line with what the club authorities want?
Well, it's affecting them already for the fact that more than 18 players protested. There are players who swear in the dressing room. Believe me, in the dressing room is a place where some matches are won and lost. You understand that? Apart from the management, apart from the coaches, the next coach to the players, to his colleagues, is the captain. You understand? Now, when he comes out in this manner to protest, it means that he must have gotten all the senior players around him. They are speaking in one voice now, and they can now talk to maybe the newcomers and the other players who are not in the cabal to join them in this protest. What they did was very, 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 very unprofessional. In an away match in the continent, that was bad. But you look at it from their angle. I was like, more than 20 persons who had nothing to do with the team travel with them. House of Assembly members, other big wigs like that traveling with them.
And we're spending that amount
they
of money.
were spending money like that. A House of Assembly member who doesn't know anything about football. Now away from that. These guys are protesting because in Nigeria, the moment your family knows you are working, even you yourself, the moment you start working, you say your responsibility comes. 28th of 28th day of a month.
No.
Very close to 25th. Very close to when you are getting your salary. That's uncle, brother. You should start showing you understand that kind of thing. Most of these guys are breadwinners, and now they just win one day. This thing, the NPFL. You would think that the story we hear inside the studio is that the state government have given them a whole lot of money, the money they have won, supporters, the sponsors that, and at the end of the day, a player who spoke on an anonymous mode based on this thing said they are owing them 18 months match allowance. Can you imagine? Akwa United. And then the other day, the government were like saying, what we have injected into this team, the money we've spent into this team, and now if this thing never happened, we will never know all these things are lies. How can someone work for you? Playing football is not brown beans.
At all.
How can someone work for you at the detriment of their life? For God's sake, you've had players dying on the pitch at the detriment of their life, although they're also enjoying their job too, and you're not paying them. Most of them are playing for the fun of it. So now it now goes to why we lose our best players. So if this thing didn't happen, we will not know that these guys are just playing football. At the end of the day, maybe I can't do it, I call you. Like, Iko Bamafa, it gets as if you find me 200 naira, you'll be like, God will punish him. Because you are thinking that he should be the one, like saying, Iko Obon, I don't have your account again, send me your account. You imagine, it is not bad. It is very bad. What is bad, Raymond. This guy should be paid. Sending the captain away and other senior players away will not solve the problem. If you can owe the likes of Mfonodo and the Frekefion, who will you not owe? And these players are going out on the pitch. Okay, they're not even paying us. There's no way myself risking my leg, risking my life, risking my health and everything. Let me just go out to the pitch where they call us. Whatever I can do, I can do. If the result does not come, it is on them. So what they did on both parties, I think the solution is for them to sit on a round table.
Definitely.
The players will have to apologize, and the management as well will have to explain things thoroughly to them. This is why this happened, and they were like, okay, sorry, this thing will not happen again, but at least let the incentive and the remuneration come on time. So we have the only motivation to play football is money. That is it.
Raymond, let me cast your mind back to, there was a period where Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi actually went to play for Argentina, on an international break, and they had a match on the Saturday. Barcelona had a match on the Saturday, and Argentina had a match on the Thursday, Nigerian time, Thursday morning. And you know the time lag and all of that. And Barcelona was like, we cannot allow our best player to pass through physical, because if you're taking a commercial flight, they would going to stop over somewhere and it's going to come in by Friday. They now chartered a flight for their best player. Now, I'm going back to what Inem said. When you take care of your players, they give all for you. You know, they play all for you. And these are the guys that just won the MPFL for you. For the very first time, they put in their lives on the line. They did everything for it and won it. And so, why we also say that the players were not professional enough in the way they carried out the protest, which they should have considered the interest of the club first, playing the match and coming back. We also putting our hammer on the heads of the administration. What are we doing? Why can't we get sponsors for the club? How does it take us to do it? Because I found out that the problem we have with Nigerian administration of sports generally, not just football, is lack of sincerity. People like, you see, at the point when Dangote wanted to buy shares and going to Arsenal, and you forget that sports as is totally business. Fine, the man enjoys it. His club is a fan of that club, but he's also going from the business angle of it. Are you getting the point? And now, how many times have we had Zenith Bank, Glo, sponsor the Super Eagles?
UBA.
Now let's see if maybe we can. I wouldn't want to say this on record because we are privileged. But you find out that because of insincerity, these people will now pull out, even after 1 year, if they had signed 5 years. Why? Because the money given to the authorities are not judiciously used, and nobody wants to come in. And so until we have sports administrators who will want, not just at the club level, because what people don't understand is that even Minister of Sports, they are even the worst in this case. That's the truth of the matter. They are the worst in this case. We can even see only Akwa United, but you know that all the clubs, all the money that's passing through is passing through the Minister of Sports, because they cannot just go straight to the Akwa United. That's the truth of the matter.
Cannot.
Are you getting the point? It starts with even the ministry. And so once you are able to allow sincerity to come into it, we will not suffer this. Sometimes it might not be the problem of the club management. It might come far higher from
maybe the central body.
Are you getting the point? So we are hoping that all of this, like Inem said, let them go into the round table. Let's talk over this matter. The interest of the club is the best. And so for the new season,
this same inside this same terrain is when the NFF chairman Magic Picnic came out the other time. I think like a month ago to say he will not allow players to leave Nigerian league to go to, was it Granite League or something, where you are not appreciating
them.
them.
That's an afterthought though, but it's a sad development in Akwa United. We hope the issues will be settled amicably. Just before we wrap up, quick update: the Super Eagles of Nigeria will be in action against the Central African Republic in the double-header qualifier for the 2022 World Cup. They host CAR at the Teslim Balogun Stadium in Lagos on the 7th, make that a Thursday. Then on Sunday, the 10th of October, they also travel to Douala, Cameroon for the return fixture. Should the Eagles win both games, they will all but qualify for the next phase of the 2022 World Cup qualifiers, which will come up in March next year, while the World Cup itself takes place in winter. That's in November. We're going to have to wrap it up here. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen, for being a part of the show. Ikobon, has been great having you.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Inem, thank you as well for coming.
Thanks for having me, Raymond.
All right, till we come your way again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your screen below. For more on Sports Center on Premium 89.9 FM, your preferred station. For me, Raymond Eta, and the rest of the team, it's bye for now.
Premium 89.9.
We are your preferred station. Premium 89.9 FM.